You are listening to the Body Charge podcast, and I'm your host, Sandy Sanderson. Welcome. Today's podcast is a practical way to solve anxiety issues for good. If your mind is becoming a nuisance and getting in the way of your life, if you can't shake fearful thoughts like some dog turd on your shoe, and if you tried all the mind techniques to reprogram your thinking, but to no avail, then think again. The problem may not be in your mind at all, but actually in your body. So how do we fix that? My special guest, Daniel Packard, can shed some light on the issues with practical, proven solutions. Daniel Packard is a UC Berkeley mechanical engineer that turned his painful 10-year battle with severe anxiety into a mission to engineer an actual permanent solution for anxiety. After 8 years of research and testing, working with 3,000 people from 5 continents, Daniel and his research team were successful in developing a groundbreaking permanent anxiety solution program with a 90% success rate. Welcome, Daniel. That sounds fantastic. I'm sure a lot of people will be really keen to find out what you have to offer. So my first question for you is, when is it helpful to experience anxiety, and when is it detrimental to health? When is it not good for us? What's the difference?
Well, I appreciate you wanted to dive in, but first I got to say to all your listeners, you don't know this, but Sandy just did a real proper intro from reading my bio, and I want to appreciate you because most people don't do their homework. So thank you for doing your homework. Thank you for welcoming me to Body Charge, and to welcome your listeners. Wherever you are, if you're listening from the couch, from the gym, from your car, from if you're in a Snuggie or on a hot air balloon or unicorn, wherever you are right now, hello, welcome. If you struggle with anxiety or know someone that does, I know the pain that you are in, and I promise you that you're going to hear something in the next little while that at the very least is going to make you think, why the heck didn't somebody tell me that sooner? But also at the very most can profoundly give you your life back. That's what it did for me. So it feels good to be here to share this important information with your audience. I just want to say that.
Awesome.
Now, your question was, how do you know when it's a problem?
Yeah, because sometimes we need anxiety, we need the adrenaline pumping to escape from real tigers, not imaginary ones.
Well, it's an excellent question, and there is theories out there that anxiety is a good thing, and it looks like on some level it could be because there are alarms in us that are supposed to get us to danger, but people don't properly understand the real mechanics of anxiety, and it creates confusion, and all this confusion is keeping people from a permanent solution. And so before I answer your question, I want to be really clear what I'm about so that your audience's time is very valuable. And also, if they have anxiety, they've learned a lot of theory and a lot of concepts on anxiety. And so why listen to me? Why trust me? Why give me their time? So I want to be really clear what I'm about so that they know to value this and also to earn their time. And what we're doing here, what I want to bring to you is for people that not just have anxiety. When you have anxiety, it's obviously painful. It feels horrible. It creates doubt. It robs you of your joy. You can't live life fully. You can't be there for the people that you care about. It's just crippling. But to me, that's not even the big problem. The main problem is not anxiety. The problem is that when people go looking for help with anxiety from the experts, the psychologists, the therapists, the spiritual teachers, what they get is usually well-meaning people that have information and tips and tools that usually help you manage your anxiety. Now, if you don't have anything, management is better than nothing. But the fact that we're paying people to manage, it's not okay. You don't pay someone to manage your drowning. You don't pay fire people to show up and manage the burning in your house. But also, when you're only managing anxiety, it's okay. It's better than nothing, but you're still drowning and you're not living life. and you're holding back, you're avoiding the things that make you joyful, and it can lead to depression. And also, you end up blaming yourself, thinking, well, the expert said this should work. It's not working. I'm broken. And I want people to understand the reason you haven't solved your anxiety is because there's a blind spot. There's a dirty little secret that the mental health community doesn't want you to know that's keeping you paying money to just manage it. So you're not broken. The system is, which sounds, I know, like a punk rock lyric, but it also happens to be true. And because what you want is to not manage your anxiety, you want to solve it, I'm going to share with you the perceptual framework, the understanding that you need to know that took our company, yes, 8 years and $1 million in research to figure out and test and optimize so that if you want to solve your anxiety permanently, that is what we're about. And I know that when you hear this, you think, oh, Daniel, that sounds great, but I've heard this before. It sounds too good to be true. So I want to just briefly tell you who I am and where my company comes from so that you know to value this information and you can trust it. Because when I was where a lot of your listeners are now, there was no hope. I was horribly anxious because I stayed in a relationship way too long. And when I came out of it, I had crippling anxiety and PTSD, and I couldn't leave the house. The tiniest thing would just send my system into a terror spiral. And then I went looking for help, and I spent $100,000 in 10 years going to therapists and psychologists, spiritual teachers, ashrams, books, videos. I was probably in a cult, maybe 2. I mean, I went looking for everything, and it was helpful, but it just managed it. And so I still had it. It was getting worse. And I wouldn't have taken my own life, but I get why people do, because I had no life and there was no hope. But what I saw was, I remembered what my dad told me as a kid. My dad was a physicist and an inventor. And he told me, Daniel, if something's not working in the world, don't just settle for it. Invent something better.
Fix it.
And he also told me, Daniel, theory is great. Ideas are great. But what really makes people's lives better is results, things that really work. And so I went to engineering school to learn to do that, to understand complex systems, break them down into simple mechanical parts, and design and engineer things that get results. And so when I was in my hopeless state, I thought, okay, maybe I could figure this out. So I started my own research company with the goal to see, could we reverse engineer an actual permanent solution? No more Band-Aids, just upgrade people's lives to live happily ever after. And so it was not easy. And it took, again, a lot of research, working with a lot of people and testing. But eventually, not only did we create a system that gave me my life back, I've been just chill as a cucumber, Sandy, for 10 years. Nothing, like nothing. No, and I don't have to meditate. There's no Medicaid, nothing, just free as a bird. But then we created an online program that allows other people to do it in 6 weeks. As you said, 90% success rate. And when people work with us, they don't pay at the beginning. They only pay at the end once their anxiety is solved. And we do that because my dad said results matter. And if we can't get your results, we're not going to charge you. So if you're listening to this and you just want tips and tools to manage your anxiety, that's not what I'm going to talk about. You can leave now. I'll spare you. But if you really want to solve this, stick around, because that's what I want to share with you now, is a permanent solution so you can be joyful.
So you found a way to tweak or change something in the brain, like a physical thing that the brain does, in terms of, physicality. It's not just in your mind, but it's something physical that happens. Is that right?
Well, yes and no. So it wasn't a tweak. I'll explain to you the process that's necessary to solve it, and it's not a tweak. That's what sometimes people think is like, what's a tip? What's a tool? What's the simple thing? And that's why people are stuck, is because they're looking for, what's the app? What's the mindset shift? What's the little thing? And we discovered that won't solve anything. That's fine to manage it, but we wanted a permanent solution. It's not a tweak. It's a whole system overhaul, and I'll explain it to you. But specifically, yes, what you said, it's in the body. Now, why is that important? Because when we started this, we started just like researchers. We said, okay, everyone says it's a problem of the mind. Quiet your thoughts, stop your negative thinking. They give you pills to target the neurotransmitters in your brain. It's called mental health. It's got the word mental right in there. So everybody thinks it's a problem of the mind.
Thinking.
But we were engineers, and we said, okay, let's look at the results. Modern psychology therapy has had about 100 years to figure this out. Did they figure it out? No. Infant mortality rate is way down. Life expectancy is way up. All sorts of diseases have been eradicated. Anxiety's on the rise. And we said, based on results, this theory doesn't seem to be solving anything. So is it the mind? And because we were outsiders, we could challenge these paradigms because we didn't go to school and learn something and feel attached to it. And we realized, no, it's not in the mind. And we know where it is. Intuition will tell you when you have anxiety, you feel it. It's a feeling. I feel anxious. Your chest can kind of tighten, your throat closes up, your heart rate goes up, your stomach gets a horrible queasy feeling. So they tell us that it's a problem of the mind, but listen to those words: throat, chest, heart, stomach. Sandy, does that sound like the mind to you or the body?
The body.
Yes. it's the body. Now, people say, well, Daniel, I have all these scary thoughts. Yes, you have scary thoughts because we are wired such that if the body is feeling something, the mind follows. The mind is a tool to get the body what it needs. There's a reflex.
It makes
keep us alive.
excuses. The mind conjures excuses to account for the feelings.
Exactly. Yeah. It conjures. It's a reflex because the body tells you what it needs. It'll say, I'm hungry. You'll feel it, your stomach growling. Then your mind says, oh, I better get food. So for reasons which I'll explain to your listeners, your body is already feeling anxious all the time. Then your body, yes, senses the fear, thinks there's a problem, and starts spinning, saying there's a problem, there's a problem. Now, if someone tells you it's your mind that's the problem, it looks like it's the problem because the mind is spinning and you feel scared. But that's not what's going on. The mind is not the cause. The mind is a symptom. And I'm telling your listeners this for two reasons. One is just so they know what the heck is going on, actually, but also so that they can have compassion for themselves. I had a client reach out to us 2 months ago. Her name was Kate from South Africa. And she said, my mind is going crazy. I'm going crazy. And I said, well, if you had a tea kettle on a flame and steam was coming out, and you wanted to stop the steam, and somebody said, well, the issue is the steam. Try to stop the steam. And you tried to stop the steam without turning off the flame, and you couldn't. The steam just kept coming. I said, does that mean you're going crazy? Does that mean you're broken? Well, she said, no. I said, why? She said, well, because the issue is at the flame. I got to turn off the flame. I said, exactly. Experts sent you to the wrong location, so you've just been chasing this symptom. You're not broken. They just sent you to the wrong place. And so she went through our program, and about halfway through, she reached out. She said, first of all, Daniel, I'm already feeling better. Thank you. But also, you're right. My mind wasn't going crazy. It was spinning because this is in the body. And now not only is my body calming down, but my mind is calming down. So if you're listening to this, you are not broken. You are not going crazy. The experts got confused and they sent you to the wrong location. That's why you haven't solved it. So you don't have an anxiety issue. You have a location issue. And once you know the right location, you can solve your anxiety permanently.
Well, that sounds very hopeful. I have a lot of people who are customers of mine with Elektra Magnesium and very successfully applying the magnesium every day transdermally because, when we feel stress and anxiety, the digestive system doesn't work very well. So absorbing it through the skin is very helpful for them to feel calm. But I think, as you said, it's just another tool. And what I'm very interested in is to find out from you how you discovered what part of the brain or how you physically changed yourself so then your mind followed the new brain, the new you.
Well, that is the best question to ask. Like, okay, great, Daniel. It's not in the mind, it's in the body. But now how do we fix it? Which is great. That's what I'm all about, is the solution. And yes, magnesium, basically, for reasons which I'll explain, your body is in a state of disrepair. But if, as you know from systems, let's say a garden, if you don't water a garden, first the grass turns brown, then the flowers wilt, then the bees don't come, then the honey, like you'll have primary, secondary, tertiary, and as I learned, quaternary and quinary symptoms.
Lots of layers.
Yeah, there's layers. But I'm proud that I just learned quaternary and quinary. It was from someone who didn't even speak from Brussels. They said, it's called quaternary. And I went, wow, thank you, non-English speaker, for telling me better about English. And so your magnesium levels can get knocked out of balance. And so, yes, magnesium can help a bit, but it's still managing symptoms. It's not that there's not value in it, but let's be honest, let's get to the root cause. So I'll explain to you the root cause. And the root cause, the beauty of this explanation is that it makes this solvable, because there's a lot of theories on anxiety. This makes it solvable. And it's solvable because once you go to the body, things become way simpler. If you think it's in the mind, nobody understands the mind. They're still just figuring it out. There's 85, I think, billion neurons, and they don't know really what's going on in there. They have MRIs, and they have people do things, and they're like, ooh, that part of the brain is red. I'm like, okay, it's a start, but they don't understand it. The body, however, is pretty well mapped out. It's simple and beautiful and mechanical. There's arteries, there's ligaments, there's skeletons, there's a whole system, and it's mechanical, which we understand. If you're choking,
And
people
electrical.
don't say, oh, you have a chakra issue. People go, no, you have an airway. It's blocked. Air can't get, it's mechanical, and you can solve it. So we said, there's all these systems in the body. What's the system that controls anxiety? And once we just ask that question, it's so obvious, and you know what it is. So when you're anxious, you could just call it extra nervous. Just, I'm feeling very, very, very nervous. So Sandy, and if you're listening to this, what system in the body, if you're feeling very nervous, do you think is controlling feeling very nervous? The capillary system, the respiratory system, or the
Central nervous system.
Yes. And why do you say the nervous system? Why is that so obvious?
Well, the largest nerve in the body is the vagus nerve, and so it connects gut and brain, and that's the system that tightens when we're feeling symptoms of anxiety and stress. The muscles pull together, and we get ready to run or fight, I guess. Fight or flight. So yes. That's very physical.
It just makes sense.
Perspire, the heart rate goes up, adrenaline pumps.
Yes, exactly. All that is, I'm extra nervous. Now, when you say it out loud, you're like, of course. But think about that. There's a system in the body that has the word nervous right in there. We're feeling extra nervous. And experts said, oh, this is a brain disorder. It's like, what? Now, if they were getting permanent results, fine. You never know what's what. But if it's been 100 years and your symptoms are getting worse, according to the data, wake up. It's the nervous system. So if you're listening to this again, the reason you still have anxiety is because you were told it was a complex brain disorder, and it's not. It's a simple system issue. And it allows you to have compassion, because we understand when our bodies aren't functioning correctly, we're not broken, we're not damaged. Our just mechanical system, which is complex, isn't running better. So if you're listening to this, you are not broken, you are not damaged, you just have a system in your body that is not running properly. But also, once you understand it's a system issue, the solution, the actual root cause of anxiety, becomes very simple and, again, obvious, and people already know what is making the nervous system not quite functional. And you know this from your relationship with a very sophisticated concept called your poop. And you're thinking, Daniel, what does poop have to do with anxiety? It doesn't, but it's a good example. So you have a nervous system, but you also have a digestive system. And you know the basics, the basic hygiene that the digestive system needs. You got to drink enough water. You got to eat a balanced diet with some fiber. You know the basics. And the body is incredible. If you do the basics, it really tends to take care of itself for the most part. It's incredible. It just runs and runs and runs. But if, let's say, you didn't do the basics for your digestive system, and you ate nothing but cheese pizza and very little water for a week, and then you go to the bathroom and either it looks not quite right or there's nothing there at all, it's not running right, do you say to yourself, oh my God, I have a complex disorder, I'm broken, I'll be stuck with this for years? Do you think like that?
No, obviously the pipes are blocked. The plumbing needs cleaning.
Yes. The plumbing, mechanical, and the plumbing is blocked because what didn't you do? What didn't you do?
Didn't put the right nutrients, water, fiber in. Probably maybe not exercising enough as well. That helps. Relaxation, massage, lots of things can help the digestive system work better. and a lot
Yes.
of magnesium.
Yes, that'll help it run better. But the key thing is that you didn't do the basics. You didn't eat a balanced diet and drink enough water. And any system in the body, if you don't do the basic hygiene, eventually it's going to show up in symptoms. You have to brush and floss. If you don't brush and floss, I don't care who you are, what culture, age, and eventually you're going to get cavities and need a root canal. It's just mechanical, and that applies to the nervous system. The issue is we're taught proper hygiene for our diet. We're taught proper sleep hygiene, get 8 hours. We're taught proper hygiene for our mouth, brush and floss. We're taught it. People know it. But Sandy, and to your listeners, did anybody ever sit you down, especially when you were younger, and say, okay, here's the basic daily hygiene that your nervous system needs. Here's what you need to do every day, a couple times, to take care of your feelings and emotions. Did anybody ever tell you that, Sandy?
No, unfortunately not. So I'm all ears. Go ahead, Daniel.
Well, not only are we not taught good emotional hygiene, we're taught bad emotional hygiene. Get over it. Don't take it personally. I'll give you something to cry about. You're too sensitive. You're too needy. Boys don't cry. You name it. We're encouraged to basically stuff it down. Also, when the people that loved us in their limited way didn't love us properly, they weren't looking after our feelings and emotions, and we internalized this unconscious belief that I guess I don't believe taking care of my feelings isn't important. If it is, my parents and protectors would have been doing it. And we just live in a culture where everyone's stuffing their feelings down and avoiding and distracting. So if you were taught how to take care of your nervous system and encouraged to do it, you could have done it and you'd have a healthy nervous system. But you weren't. Nobody taught you how to do it. You were taught bad habits and taught to not take care of it, which means mechanically, I don't care who you are, eventually your nervous system will act the way all systems do when they're not taken care of. They become fragile. Fragile means when life pushes on you, instead of feeling pressure, you feel pain.
Yeah.
Anxiety.
Hypersensitivity. Yeah.
Yes.
You go to pieces at the smallest thing.
The smallest thing, but it's not hypersensitivity. It is that yes, that is, but it's coming from a lack of daily care. If you don't take care of your teeth, they're now fragile. You bite a carrot, you should be able to handle a carrot, but you can't. You feel pain. Now, because we know about tooth care, you go, oh my God, I probably need to go to the dentist. But if you didn't know that, you think, oh my God, I have a complex tooth disorder, or do I have carrot pain disorder? Do I have ice cream pain disorder? Is this because my father didn't let me eat ice cream? Like, you're going to start spinning out. But if you realize, oh, I didn't take care of my system, and that's why you don't feel so messed up. So if you're listening to this, the root cause that we discovered that is dead simple is that you weren't taught to take care of your nervous system, and now it's fragile and releasing pain. This wasn't your fault. You were not broken. This was going to happen eventually. So that's the bad news. Nobody knows if this is causing their anxiety. And because of that, they're not addressing the root cause, and they're constantly managing symptoms. That's the bad news. But Sandy, and if you're listening to this, if we actually want to solve this relatively quickly and simply, why is it good news to have this understanding that what you're experiencing is just basic daily care gone missing? Why is that good news if we want to turn this around?
Well, because if we understood what to do physically, we would just follow the bouncing ball. Do A, B, C, D, and complete the course. Follow the program, which is, what's the program?
Well, what you said is important, and I want to be clear because, again, I want your audience to understand what's going on, why they failed in the past, so they don't blame themselves and so that they have hope. What you said, A, B, C, D. Now, you don't think of A, B, C, D, E when you think of anxiety. You think of individual tips and tools, and people are used to having it and trying this thing and that thing. But when you realize it's just a system issue, we understand, oh, that is A, B, C, D. If I haven't brushed and flossed and I have tooth pain and I didn't know why, I'd have a lifetime of tooth pain. I think I'm going crazy. I think my teeth are broken. I think I'm weak. But if you learned about a dentist and brushing and flossing, A, you go to the dentist. B, the dentist understands teeth and they know the process. Anesthesia first, go in the tooth here, address the nerve here, put in healthy bone here. Like it's a step, it's A, B, C, D. They put you back together, then you brush and floss, C and D, moving forward. It's all simple and doable and possible. So if you're listening to this, the reason you failed is because people gave you tools to manage the pain. You were not given a system and an understanding, an A, B, C, D, to repair the system so it comes back to health. So the power of this, and people tell me this, our clients all the time, is even before the program starts working, they already feel more hopeful and less shame and guilt because they're like, oh, this is just a system in my body that I didn't take care of. And so no wonder. And now I'm taking care of it. And I know that this will work. So if you're listening to this, please don't lose hope. This is so much simpler than you realize. And I'm a living testament. Like we did this program on me first, and I've just been joyful and energetic because I have a healthy nerve. I'm like a kid again. And I want that for your listeners.
You've been empowered because you can do this for yourself. You don't feel dependent on others to do something for you, like go back to the doctor again and again, and nothing really changes. This is something you can do for yourself in self-care. And there are certain steps and processes that you've worked out that works exceptionally well for other people. So can you tell us a little bit more about what that program is about? What does it look like? What would someone typically be doing in that physical protocol?
Excellent question. So the key to the protocol is that we've been testing this and refining it to make sure that it works for everybody. A dentist, a heart surgeon, a brain surgeon, they go to school to learn just exactly what's going on, and they practice it to make sure if this goes wrong. So our 90% success rate didn't start off that way. We tried a set of tools. We would look where people would get confused or fail. We realized we had to get the order just right, starting easy, working your way up, seeing what people could do. So
unfortunately, we had a technical issue with the rest of the Body Charge podcast with Daniel Packard just before he was going to finish. So I would like to just add in that anyone interested in finding out more about what Daniel has to offer with his program of solving anxiety issues for good, you can find him online at his website, anxietysolutionprogram.com. That's anxietysolutionprogram.com. And we'll leave the link underneath the video on YouTube as well. Thank you. I hope you liked this conversation and will share it with others. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. If you want to listen to other Body Charge conversations, click like, subscribe, the bell icon, and click all notifications. Subscribe to our newsletter to get updates on blogs, podcasts, videos, and Magnesium special offers at electramagnesium.com.au. Relax, recharge, and recover.